So hey Tristan, some spread lies. I'm not sure how well this is going to work, but we're going to try it for the first time and see if I can share this video. Not sure. Nothing's happening when I click it. What do I do? It's got the little boxes down here that say share. Because I can go split screen, double screen, 3 people, but 1 person with a video, and it's not letting me do it. I had a nice Thanksgiving, and oh, here it is. Here we go. I don't know. Let's see if the sound works.
This is Canada, mind you. They're nuts. Let me show you
Going
this
through
story.
my TV.
Talk about why it's even crazier than you realize. NotTheBee.com, okay?
So now you're not
Not
going to
the
be able to
Bee
hear it.
is a website that's making fun of the Babylon Bee as a satire site. They're calling it Not the Bee as a joke because these stories are so absurd, you'd think it was satire.
You aren't picking that up with my microphone, are you?
They say, a few days ago, Johns Hopkins published a study saying corona is NBD. They then deleted it. Read it here, it's in entirety. Doc Holliday writes, Johns Hopkins published this study on Sunday, which posits that COVID is nowhere near the disaster we're being told it is. I would summarize it for you or offer full quotes, but honestly, you just have to read it yourself because it's mind-blowing. The original article is now deleted from the Johns Hopkins website for some reason. Luckily, the internet is forever, and it's available via the Wayback Machine. Well, I actually have it via the Wayback Machine, and I want to read it for you. It's called A Closer Look at U.S. Deaths Due to COVID-19, November 22nd, and it's from the JHU newsletter. I'm terrible at reading jumbled up acronyms. Okay, it's the Johns Hopkins University newsletter.com. There we go. A closer look at U.S. deaths due to COVID. Okay, well, first, let's take a look at the calendar on the Wayback Machine. On November 26th, there were many screenshots. So I pulled up 22/31/19. We can see the newsletter still existed. But when you pull up where you can see it turns yellow, 23/17. So at some point between those 45 or so minutes, they took the article down. I don't know why. It's gone. Let me read it for you. They say, according to new data, the US currently ranks first in total COVID-19 cases, new cases per day, and deaths. Genevieve Briand, Assistant Program Director of the Applied Economics Master's Degree Program at Hopkins, critically analyzed the effect of COVID-19 on US deaths using data from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention in her webinar titled COVID-19 Deaths, a Look at US Data. From mid-March to mid-September, US total deaths have reached 1.7 million, of which 200,000 or 12% of total deaths are COVID-19 related. Instead of looking directly at COVID-19 deaths, Briand focused on our total deaths per age group and per cause of death in the US and used this information to shed light on the effects of COVID-19. She explained the significance of COVID-19 on US deaths can be fully understood only through comparison to the number of total deaths in the US. After retrieving data from the CDC on the CDC website, Briand compiled a graph representing percentages of total deaths per age category from early February to early September, which includes the period from before COVID-19 was detected in the US to after infection rates soared. Surprisingly, the deaths of older people stayed the same before and after COVID-19. Since COVID-19 mainly affects the elderly, experts expected an increase in the percentage of deaths in older age groups. However, this increase is not seen from the CDC data. In fact, the percentages of deaths among all age groups remain relatively the same. Let me just tell you, okay, let me just make sure this is clear. They deleted this article, and it may be because it is a bunk. This is bunk, man. We don't know. I do think it's weird that they didn't issue an editorial note explaining the problem, and so I can only assume that there was a political reason behind it, or they couldn't vet the information. I honestly have no idea why they deleted it. But I'll tell you, man, I'm not going to play selective games, okay? It's possible the article is trash, and then they realized it was trash and panicked and then deleted it. It's possible that people on the right started sharing this.
Possible. I've been saying this for months.
Said, oh no, and deleted it. I have no idea why they deleted it, but I can tell you it does make sense that what they were reporting before they did delete it, because we know that the overwhelming majority, like 90+% of people who died and it's listed as a COVID death, have comorbidities, in which case it may contribute to the death, but it may have been the person who would die anyway. There was two really famous examples in COVID tracking. One where a person had total renal failure. Like, you're like 90 years old with renal failure, you're probably gonna die, whether you have COVID or not. But the person did have COVID, or they tested positive for COVID, so they said that's a COVID death. There was another viral story where a guy died in a motorcycle accident, had COVID, and they listed that as a COVID death, apparently. But those are not, as far as I can tell, the widespread. The motorcycle one was a weird story. That was brought up in like Illinois or something. But the fact that the overwhelming majority, like 90+% of comorbidities, means they probably were about to die anyway. So think about it this way. Someone's got renal failure. They get COVID. Well, with just the renal failure, maybe they would have died in 2 or 3 weeks. With COVID, they died in 3 days. Everyone then says, see, COVID killed them. Well, if someone's dying already and they get sick, they'll probably die faster. It's just simple logic. In which case, the death probably still would have occurred in the same year, but with COVID, it happened a little bit faster. That's probably the simplest explanation for this. But think about it. They're coming out and saying that mortality, had the death rate remained stable.
Oh.
And this woman in Canada,
no more people died
over this. And the doctors helped, and the family sang songs and cheered as it happened. Yikes, man. Let's read a little bit more. They say, quote, the reason we have a higher number of reported COVID-19 deaths among older individuals than younger is simply because every day in the US, older individuals die in higher numbers than younger individuals. Briand also noted that 50,000 to 70,000 deaths are seen before and after COVID-19, indicating that this number of deaths was normal long before COVID-19 emerged. Therefore, according to Briand, not only has COVID-19 had no effect on the percentage of deaths of older people, but it has also not increased the total number of deaths.
Oh my God, really?
These data analyses suggest.
And you wonder why they took it down.
Assumptions. The number of deaths by COVID-19 is not alarming. In fact, it has relatively no effect on deaths in the US. This comes as a shock to many people. How is it that all the data lies so far from our perception? To answer that question, Briand shifted her focus to the deaths per causes ranging from 2014 to 2020. There is a sudden increase in deaths in 2020 due to COVID-19. There is no surprise, because COVID-19 emerged in the US in 2020, and thus COVID-19 related deaths increased drastically afterwards. Analysis of deaths per cause in 2018 revealed that the pattern of seasonal increase in the total number of deaths is a result of the rise in deaths by all causes, with the top 3 being heart disease, respiratory diseases, influenza, and pneumonia. Quote, this is true every year. Every year in the US, when we observe the seasonal ups and downs, we have an increase of deaths due to all COVID causes. When Briand looked at the 2020 data during that seasonal period, COVID-19 related deaths exceeded deaths from heart diseases. This was highly unusual since heart disease has always prevailed as the leading cause of deaths. However, when taking a closer look at the death numbers, she noted something strange. As Briand compared the number of deaths per cause during that period in 2020 to 2018, she noticed that instead of the expected drastic increase across all causes, there was a significant decrease in the deaths due to heart disease. Even more surprising, as seen in the graph below, this sudden decline in deaths is observed for all other causes. It's because of comorbidities. People are being listed as dying from COVID because they have COVID, and they're no longer being listed as because of heart disease or otherwise. I think it's fair to point out the way I just described it. COVID is killing people probably faster than the other issues, but thus they're going to say it's a COVID death. In the end, we probably want to take COVID seriously. So lingering health effects, like 20% of people get some kind of ongoing permanent effect. That's the ultimate problem with it. There's like scar tissue in people's lungs. But I'm not convinced it's the apocalypse, and I said it over and over again. We're not talking about airborne Ebola. We're talking about a new virus with a higher mortality rate than the flu, but the survival rate is still around 99.9% for all people under 70 years old. But for people above 70, it's 97.5.
Only 97.5. Pretty damn serious.
It's political. It's entirely
political. No way.
They say this trend is completely contrary to the pattern observed in all previous years. Interesting. As depicted in the table below, the total decrease in deaths by other causes almost exactly equals the increase in deaths by COVID-19. This suggests, according to Rand,
really?
The COVID-19 death toll
they went down, COVID went up, and it stayed the same?
Respiratory diseases, influenza, and pneumonia may instead be recategorized as being due to COVID-19. I'm going to go ahead and say, well, it's entirely possible this is just a bunk article, like someone wrote something and was wrong. When you come out and say something like that, and there's a political agenda, especially around the Great Reset, Occam's razor would suggest that the real reason it was pulled is because it's true. They're claiming that people, well, I shouldn't say they're claiming, but it's likely that people who have heart disease and get COVID die, and they say it was COVID instead of heart disease, instead of saying it was a comorbidity and it was both. I guess you can't do that, huh? The CDC classified all deaths that are related to COVID simply as COVID. Even patients dying from other underlying diseases, but are infected with COVID, count as COVID-19 deaths. This is likely the main explanation as to why COVID-19 deaths drastically increased, while deaths by all other diseases experienced a significant decrease. All of this points to no evidence that COVID-19 created any excess deaths. The total death numbers are not above normal death numbers. We found no evidence to the contrary. In an interview with the newsletter, Briand addressed the question of whether COVID-19 deaths can be called misleading, since the infection might have exacerbated and even led to deaths by other underlying diseases. If the COVID-19 death toll was not misleading at all, what we should have observed is an increased number of heart attacks and increased COVID-19 numbers. But a decreased number of heart attacks and all other death causes doesn't give us a choice but to point to some misclassification. In other words, the effect of COVID-19 on the deaths in the US is considered problematic only when it increases the total number of deaths or the true death burden by a significant amount in addition to the expected deaths by other causes. Since the crude number of total deaths by all causes before and after COVID-19 has stayed the same, one can hardly say, in Briand's view, that COVID-19 deaths are concerning. Well, let's do this. They actually linked to the data. And so let me pull
all right.
I'm not entirely
hard
sure
facts coming.
But let's see if it pulls up, and we'll keep reading to see what their conclusion is. According to Briand, the over-exaggeration of the COVID-19 death number may be due to the constant emphasis on COVID-19 related deaths and the habitual overlooking of deaths by other natural causes in society. During an interview with the newsletter after the event, Purna Dharmasena, a master's candidate in applied economics, expressed his opinion about Briand's concluding remarks. At the end of the day, it's still a deadly virus, and over-exaggeration or not, to a certain degree, is irrelevant. When asked whether the public should be informed about this exaggeration in death numbers, Dharmasena stated that people have a right to know the truth. However, COVID-19 should still be continuously treated as a deadly disease to safeguard the vulnerable population. Well, are we going to do that for every single disease? And if that's the case, I'm not entirely convinced that makes the most sense. So they linked to, actually, it's from The Guardian. Wow. Here's the archive. COVID world map. Which countries have the most coronavirus cases and deaths? Creepy stuff, huh? Absolutely creepy stuff. Because here's where we stand.
This is what they did to the article.
The website's gone.
Oops.
John Hopkins University newsletter article, and it's just not there anymore. Why did they take it down? Honestly, I don't know. There's probably a lot of reasons. But it sounds like with the end of that article, then they asked whether the public has a right to know the truth about the
this is Tim Pool.
They said, sure.
He has 3, 4 channels. He's all over all the platforms. But he does request sharing, liking, and everything. So I wasn't expecting a counter strike. So that's good to know.
For an end to the politicization of mitigation measures like mask wearing and social distancing. A very dark winter. Well,
oh, here's a fun little tidbit
from John Hopkins, Bloomberg School of Public Health, about the exercise Dark Winter.
That's was there.
I don't know what it means. It's just funny.
Some years ago, they did it again.
Some big conspiracy. I'll tell you what I think happened. I think COVID happened. I think we started seeing these videos out of China where people were passing out in the street because they couldn't breathe. Yeah, that probably what happened. I think COVID was a serious ailment, and we saw the doctors and we saw the panic. And then it was a novel virus. We probably developed some kind of herd immunity. Sweden ignored it, didn't have any major issues. Now they're saying, oh no, but now Sweden's getting slammed by this. Oh, really? At a time when Johns Hopkins University puts out this newsletter saying the deaths are being exaggerated, it sounds like COVID came and went. Let me clarify that. It sounds like COVID is still here, but because it was a novel virus, we got slammed by it. It seems like 15 days to slow the spread actually worked, but then a bunch of feckless leaders didn't want to actually lift the lockdowns because they were scared they'd be responsible for what came next. Grow up. Now it's become political. Now I think they've got an agenda. And
Porter Farmer or PDF file?
They like the Great Reset. They say
yeah, I watched Lou Dobbs on a stolen channel. All right, so let me get back to StreamYards. I don't know if anybody even tried to come up because I only know how to do this one at a time. How do you stop sharing? Ah, see, share audio. I should have clicked that and it maybe would have come through my headset. I can't click share screen there. Ah, cancel. I'm not embarrassed at all by this. I don't know how to. PDF file. Let's see if we can put something else up there just to see how I get it up there and how to get rid of it. I have to click it. You have to click it a second time to get rid of it. Okay. Well, I'm figuring it all out, and nobody else is. See, looks like they've tried to come on. Wonderful. Anyway, that was interesting enough that I thought I really would like to share that with at least a couple people. I appreciate both of you too. I should actually. I'm not sure why. Maybe you've never been in there before. We'll see. But I was actually yelling at the TV through about half of it, so I thought that's why it was worthy of actually replaying it. And I don't know. I sit around and get high and wait for other people to come in, or whether I should just go flip the coin, and then when you flip it and it doesn't come up the way you want, you know what you really want to do. And I'm still trying to. By the time I get this laptop figured out, my computer will finally be repaired. Then I'll have to learn all over again. Because even my computer is not going to be my computer because it's got a different motherboard, different hard drive, different power source. It's a whole new computer. And it's no longer going to be a special computer that tells everyone I'm in Indiana. My son built it, and those functions will no longer be options. I know. True. You you could convince me really, if there was ever a time you could convince me that I'm dreaming when I'm awake and awake when I'm dreaming, it would have to be 2020. I think we all just went to sleep, and this has got to be a freaking nightmare. I mean, to give Joni Rotten that credit, this is a for fuck's sake fucking. It's mine's to shake my head. I've shook my head more times this year than I have my entire life, and the year's not even over. And I cannot count Trump out. Not when you look at results. Vegas ain't even counted him out. So, man, if we think it's crazy now, can you imagine 2021 if Trump pulls this off and says, I'm president. Sorry, Biden. Well, the Supreme Court decided, not the electors, not the Electoral College, not the legislature, not the. Oh, it was the courts that the left so loves. Next year is just going to be, I'm going to dig a hole under the trailer and hide. Maybe I'll survive. It's going to be. So I don't see it getting better. Either way, if you're going to use the metric of the political thing that right now is we're calling an election, and does anybody really think it'll be different in 2022? That they'll have changed anything? Which side loses? And then they'll say the same thing the side that lost last time said. We had the 4 years of resistance by the Democrats, and now we're going to have the 4 years of healing by the Democrats. Watch out for Operation Warp Speed. Well, if it actually was Trump's Operation Warp Speed, when they had the results in October, why didn't they publish? Why did they wait to publish? If it wasn't political, if it's all about really about medicine and helping people. And all right, I'm going to walk into a freezer at 0 degrees and jump into a vat of nitrogen here, and I'm not going to use any emotion. I'm going to freeze it all out and just use logic and reason. Even if the vaccine works, the first person to get it are going to be the medical staff. No, they've been every day they've been in contact with this COVID-19 every day. That's what they're doing, right? That's supposedly they're telling us. They're treating all these patients, and we're going to vaccinate them first so they don't get it. And we're also going to vaccinate the most vulnerable, which are the really old people who are dying already from heart disease and are dying already from lung cancer and are dying from leukemia, so that they can live longer. So even if you accept their point of view, their logic, and who they're going to pick first, and still keep healthy people locked in, it's just when they started, we're going to lock up the healthy people, my head started going from side to side to side to side to side to side, going, when do we lock up the healthy people? I mean, that's like letting the criminals out of. Well, we're already doing that. I can't use that for an example. No, common sense you can't make change with. So nope. You can't make change with common sense, so there's no value to it. So I would like to argue that you keep the prisoners in jail and let the public at large that aren't breaking laws out, but now you go to jail for a mask and you get out if you are over 50 and killed people. So yeah, I was going to use that argument. I was really convinced I might go somewhere with that one. Nope. I don't know. It never flags me or anything. I never brought anybody on the panel, but I assume they show up right about here somewhere when they come in. I mean, I don't know. I could play other videos. What have I got? But won't. Oh, everything else I gotta probably get me kicked out. Election vote. The problem is you want a judge to tell millions of people that they don't count. Oh, if I could get this one sized. Maybe I can get this one sized. Let's see if we can do this one. Because I'll have to read it, or you'll have to read it. Yeah, that's a pretty good size. All right, now let me see. Oops, I reduced it and I can't even find my little fucking pointer. So let's not reduce it until we get there. This was... Okay. Let's set this up for everybody in here. How many people? 2? 1? 4? Okay. We set that up. Share screen. Share screen. This is Dominion company software, the most secure in American history. And then I'll reduce it so you can now see. Now here's the problem. Now you can see it, but I can't read it. Let's see, maybe we'll give it a try. Edison Research, they call it ER, has refuted any claims the company data suggested any voting irregularities. Okay, so when you start using words like any, none, never, absolutely, you're lying. You're just putting a lie right out there. No, any, none, zero, none, no, including vote switching. ER President Larry Robbs told the Dispatch Check Fact. Edison Research created to no such report, and we are not aware of any voter fraud. There's no voter fraud. Claims that 941,000 votes for President Trump in Pennsylvania were deleted are impossible. There you go. Impossible. There's no way in anybody's capability of making that happen. It's impossible. All right. Another freaking thing. 14 counties using Dominion system collectively produced 1.3 million votes, representing a voter turnout of whole whopping 76%. 52% of the votes were to President Trump among the 676,000 votes for President Trump using company systems. Oh, so yeah, they're not guilty. They couldn't have done anything. Second assertion on their report. Supercomputer election fraud conspiracies are 100%. 100%. I mean, they're just, this is an accuracy that God is aspiring to. And all U.S. voting systems must provide assurance they work accurately and relatively and are intended under federal and state certifications and testing requirements. Election safeguards from testing and certification of voting systems to canvassing and auditing prevent malicious actors from tampering with vote counts and ensure that the vote tallies are accurate. There's been no raids on Dominion servers by U.S. military or otherwise. None. Not even a phone call. And Dominion does not have servers in Germany. U.S. Army has also confirmed that the Army even told you that they didn't go in another foreign country illegally and steal servers. Yeah, no problem. They got you covered here. Number 3, there were no Dominion software glitches. No, and we didn't have one glitch. We are perfect. And ballots were accurately tabulated. Results are 100% audible. You can look at every micro data, flagrant little photon, and it's all there. All there, all there. Nothing to see here. You guys are just crazy. Dominion is a nonpartisan U.S. company. Of course it is. It's a private company. It couldn't be partisan. It couldn't be political. It's not in politics. No way. Dominion is not and has never, and I mean, look, time is pretty long before this, but we've never done this. Owned by Smartmatic. Never. Nothing. Nothing I have in my house has been gotten at Kmart. Nothing. Number 6, no authorized or last-minute software updates occurred. No, wait a minute. They actually have people that updated the software during the counting. No authorized. None. Not once did we do anything that was wrong. Nothing happened. No last minute nothing. Nothing to see here. Dominion, you really ought to write this stuff better. There are no issues with the use of Sharpie pens. None. Now, actually, we have people testifying that there are that are working and not just voting. They have said there were problems. But, this is who? Dominion. Look at that. They are so great. They are so great. I'm telling you. Doesn't that solve it all for you? Does that answer every question about Dominion software for you? Oops. I don't even know what I did. Invite guests to the broadcast studio. Oh, I don't know. I wonder how you do that. Now I can read chat. I can't do everything at once. It's all I can do to hold my bowl in my one hand and my lighter in the other. Hey, they had dead voters apply. But hey, Aphasia, Eric jumped in here. Oh my goodness, guys. I hope you didn't hear me. I was just ranting away there. No, I could use an evaluation on whether I should kill myself or quit YouTube or whether that made any sense. Yeah, Phasia, happy holidays to you. I hope everything's going good for you. You're working on your music. I don't know. I also just literally curls my toes when they say, well, it's not enough to change the election. All the illegal things that were done, each one by itself, well, that one won't actually change the election. So it doesn't matter if it was illegal. It doesn't matter if it was wrong. It doesn't matter if it disenfranchises us. It doesn't matter if it makes us not vote. It's only going to matter if people stormed the voting precincts and did something about it, I guess. I don't know how else, you know. Oh, I don't know. I guess I have to do something here, don't I? Damn it. How do I do this? Okay, guys. Is this where I admit I'm an idiot? I think you're supposed to do this. Maybe. I don't know how this works. Is that what you're supposed to do so people will come on? Not that I thought anybody was going to come up here. Wow, nobody's joined. Why is that? Oh, the door's locked? Yeah, it worked. I think that's how you do it. You're supposed to do that like at the beginning or something so people can come on. Oh, this is too fun, and I get to relearn it all again when I switch back to the computer. Oh. I really can't figure out how I can, because I have a extension camera with like 20-foot cord that has the microphone. I can just walk away from the laptop, and I have a headset, and I can't get anything to work. It just wants to use the camera on the laptop when I want it to use the camera. So I'll fiddle around with it. Like I say, by the time I figure it out, I'll have a computer. It should be next week. That momentary pause was the result of holding a hit, which will soon be followed by a cough. Oh, I can predict the future. So I have learned I can share video, but it's actually the audio is coming through my surround sound, not because I didn't click that little box to have it come through the computer, which would have been I would have probably been able to hear it through my headset. I'm not sure. Oh, what's that? Drew popped in. What? Hey, Drew. Reptar's doing fine with a dark blue night light, that heat light he's got. Took him a day to decide. In a couple days, he hasn't had to climb quite as high. So I'm assuming it gives off a touch more heat than the ceramic bulb did. Maybe a difference in 3 inches of height, which is a lot for temperature. But that's cool too, because before he was right nose up to the top. Yeah, some spread lights. Have a good one. Thanks for dropping in. It's 10 o'clock here, so you're like a few hours off. Get your time right. You know, all I can say is fix it. It's 10 o'clock here, so it's 10 o'clock everywhere. You just are wrong. Oh, that's all right, Aphasia. I'm just learning, and it's only really like a third stream on StreamYards. And I'm still trying to figure out the laptop and the different headgear and whatnot. So I just went on to share this first video on how crazy the COVID deaths are and see how it worked. So I didn't even put the StreamYards up there. I forgot you. And then I thought, I don't even know if I know how. So I was just trying. Yeah, that Drew, when I had my mini reef, that was what was crazy. You find the fall off in lights. And I mean, you have to have the right amount of solar light in a mini reef, or the thing just mosses all up and turns green, and algae, it just kills it. So we had to replace those lights every 3 months. And actually, my daylight has to go through the screen, and the screen cuts off like 70% of the day white light, yellow light, orange light, whatever it is. Blue light, actually. That's supposed to be daylight, but I use the orange yellow bulb to bud, and the blue bulb to grow. But in the lizard world, the blue light is a night light, so it makes the cage kind of little. It's a little lighter than the rest of the room, and since the skulls are all kind of real light, they all kind of show up in the dark. But that's for me, not for him. He's sound asleep. Yeah, a lot of people run timers, and it's really. I considered it, but then that structures my life because the cage sits right next to me. Lizards are people too. Oh, lizards. No, lizards are your last meal. That's what lizards are. If I'm stuck here and it's the end, I guess I already have my last meal. So, yeah, I'll bet. Right. My brother's kids and their kids have 3 dragons in there. They have a whole room for the dragons. They have 3 bearded dragons at their house and a couple other ones, and a couple iguanas, which I was surprised because then they have to keep the males all have to be caged, and the female has a more open life. She gets out sometimes. They let her out in the room. But see you, some. Thanks for hanging. So I hope you enjoyed the video on the COVID, and I hope that you laughed at me, all of my mistakes, because I did. And you can laugh harder if I repeat them, when I'll stop laughing and start crying. But hey, friends in code, you're always lurking. Caught me just saying goodbye. I've tried the StreamYards here, and Otto sent you. Otto's always telling people what to do. Oh, but the pipe's empty, and the lizard's sleeping, so I guess that's all the content that I have for this live stream. And check out Tim Pool Podcast, Tim Pool Podcast IRL, I think it is. He always offers both sides of the argument. He's got quite a following. And that was my plug for him. So, all y'all have a good one. We gone.